Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Elias Wallace on What's New for 2024.
So we're here today with Elias Wallace, and I'm just curious, where are you joining us from? Are you in the States right now or in Europe?
Well, right now I'm in California. So I'm
Okay.
just outside of Los Angeles in a place called Colton, which is like right next to San Bernardino in
Mhm.
Riverside, California. It's about 40 miles east of Los Angeles.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
But you are based at least part-time overseas, I think, right?
Yeah, I have a property in France as well. So there are times when I go back, and there was a time when I had my whole family in France as well,
Okay.
but not right now.
Not right now. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I wanted to thank you for responding to my outreach. I've been a huge fan of your work for a long time. And I was really interested in talking to you because I feel like over the last few years, you've had some really fascinating collaborations and put out some work that was, at least for me, very different than what I had heard, maybe 10 years ago or even earlier than that. So I thought maybe we could start. By you talking about some of your more recent releases. And I can, definitely point to a few that I've been listening to, but why don't we start there and then maybe we can go back in time a little bit.
Okay. So the newest that you've probably heard if you've been following any of the music that I do is probably the Elias Wallace um, Walk With You album that I did. And I did that, I timed it perfectly to happen just during the pandemic. So there was a great timing there. Um, and so I was all set to go and do tours and do music, and then all of the booking agencies shut down. So during that time, there was no more touring. So I wasn't able to really promote it live in the way that I like to promote the music because I feel like I'm a better live performer than I am just in the studio. I've worked on getting that same kind of energy and magic to happen in the studio, but it's a little bit harder. It's a different kind of energy that you have to bring.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So that comes up for us a lot. And I guess I would preface that by saying that a lot of the artists that we talk to are part of what we would call kind of the jam band scene. And it really is that focus on improvisation, live performance kind of being the priority, recording sometimes secondary in terms of fan interaction. So I know that's something that a lot of those folks have to kind of consider. What do you do, or what have you kind of learned over time to try to bring some of that live element into the studio?
One of the things I had to do was try to memorize my words before I like record it. So it sounds a bit weird, but most of the things that you've actually heard, if you listen to my music, I will oftentimes write like in the studio. And so then when I'm doing it, because it's actually my favorite way of creating. So my favorite way of creating is it took me a while to figure this out, but what I'm good at is top line. So if there's music or whatever, I try to like see if that can speak to me, and then I freestyle over it. And then if there's like a phrase or an idea that I keep returning to, then I go, oh, there's something there. And as I started to work with different producers and different artists, what I'm not strong at is the development of the different parts of the song, putting it together. So we would just put the recorder on and then just go and see what happens, and then say, you know, we like this, I like this, and I like this. Let's build something off of this. Let's get rid of all the other stuff. And so then we would just get rid of the other stuff and then just build from there. So that that is one of the ways that I would create. But then I really love the synergy that happens when you're recording. So I think there's more amazing things that can happen when you're working with people and they say, "Hey, why don't you try this, or why don't you try that?" And so then I would try different things, and we would be able to create different sounds and ideas. And sometimes it works, and sometimes you go, "No, that's not going to work." But I really, really believe that um, the only way that you can create interesting art is to embrace the suck. That means you have to recognize that you're also going to make a lot of terrible things, and that's the uh, as an artist, you're always trying to look to create something really wonderful, but the magical things that happen, they don't happen because you tried to make them happen. They happen because you captured something in that moment, or something came out, or you tapped into something that was even deeper. And so you have to be open to that, which also means that there's going to be other moments where that was like, wow, that was really terrible, like that. Those things happen too, and so you have to be okay with that. It, if not, then you might as well just understand that there's formulas that kind of work. Just do the formula. But I don't need to do music to make my living. So it was my whether or not I was going to eat wasn't based upon that. So I felt like I could always do whatever I felt like, even if it was like, okay, I'm going to do 30 bars, and then I'm going to do 12. And they'd be like, why are you doing that? It's so unbalanced. Because I can. I don't care. I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah. There's so many places I want to go from that. But I guess if we think about recordings, and I know that you had mentioned Walk With Me, is that one of the first times where you were doing a lot of the writing versus maybe collaborating in different ways? Or the projects you've done, have you been writing them also?
Right. So I've always written the lyrics,
Okay.
but I've never been against people having input. So I worked with other bands, and we would. I believe in collaboration. I believe that, and it really depends on the people that you're working with. And some creative endeavors, it's a struggle. So you're in a creative endeavor, but you're wrestling with one another the entire time. You're like, no, I think it needs to go this way, and they're like, no, I think it needs to go this way. And so then you mediate some type of compromise, and you figure out what you want from there. With other people, there's it's a different kind of collaborative process. So the particular people that I was working with on that song, I just flew out to Denmark and met up with one of my buddies named S1, and he's a hip hop producer in Denmark, known mostly for a lot of the hip hop stuff that he's done. And I was like, well, I've already kind of done some things in that area, and I don't want to go over that ground again. I want to try something different, and and so he was like, "Oh, that's cool because I'd like to try something different too." And so he was just building a really thick bass line, and so it was he was just building the drums for it. And he was like, "Well, what about this?" And then I was just listening to it, and then I was like, "Let me walk with you, I'll carry your burden," and I just started to sing from there. And I didn't really have all the words or anything, but I had that "Let me walk with you" because of the rhythm of the drums, and everything kept coming back to that. And so then I was like, okay, that's it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do something built around that idea. And so then we built the song off of that. And that was the very first song that he and I worked on together in the studio. And then we wrote seven, 8 songs in 5 days. So that's what
Wow.
we did.
Coming up on tap for this year, do you have some kind of stuff in the works, whether it's here or overseas, that you'd want to talk about?
So there's a couple of things. One is that the past year I didn't work on almost any music at all, and that was because I was in an administrative credential program. So I'm a teacher, and then I have a master's degree in administration, and then I was getting a credential as a principal. So I was it tied up my time. I didn't have the time to go
The
and do
coolest
any.
principal in the whole county.
Oh, my goodness.
So I was gonna get back to music, but you can't. It's really hard to do both at the same time. It's a
Oh,
completely different spaces, and so I had to kind of put that other stuff to the side. And so I think the next but in the meantime, while I was doing that, I started to work with some South American rappers, and one of the South American rappers that I worked with was Ali, aka Mind. I don't know if you've run across any of his work, but I did 2 songs with him, recorded 2 songs with him, and then shot a couple videos with him in New York City. And we're talking about doing some music down in Colombia. So I'd love to do Colombia, and
yeah.
because these are brand new, incredible markets with vibrancy and a lot of youth. But then also, I really want to share the new songs in the indie electronic space, and then I also want to write probably in this January or February. I'll probably write like 6, 7, 8, 9 acoustic songs as well.
The cumbia thing.
Yeah, the cumbias. Yeah. Mexico, you have all the cumbias, and if I'm being fair, I speak Spanish, but I don't. I do not sing or write in Spanish, and I don't know if I could pull that off, and I don't think it would be very authentic. It wouldn't be very authentic. I'm still stuck with. I want to push myself, right, but not off a cliff. So I want to. I want to do something that hopefully will resonate and be honest. Because I think if you guys think about it, like what's magical about music is that it's when it's done really, really well, at least the stuff that I like, it's honest. It's coming, and that's why I like soulful music, right? Because it's tapping into something that's deep and true and honest. And if you can do that, then you can make connections with people. And language, this is why, like to your point, Kevin, people don't need to know the language to have an emotional connection with the music, because it's not happening in that part of their brain. It's not happening in the left hemisphere of their brain. It's happening in the right hemisphere of their brain. It's like it's happening where metaphor and tone and all these other emotions are occurring. And so that's the connection that we have. And that's this. A lot of people would argue from an evolutionary psychology perspective that that music is it predates referential language. So humans are going to be more connected through sound and through song.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.